What's up, guys? Just figured I'd do another video for you. This one's going to be on the basics of air conditioning, and hopefully you find it interesting and it teaches you a lot. So we're going to go over a few points, point out some stuff, and hopefully you'll learn a few things. Guess we'll give it a shot. So here we are at the condenser, as you can see, and we're just going to go over a few things on how an air conditioner works. Basically, you start out with your hot air in your house. Obviously, if you have a hot house, your AC isn't working. So what it does is the air in your house is filled with different particulates, which range from moisture to nitrogen to oxygen, whatever. So your hot, moist air flows across your filter first, and when you start doing ACs, the number one thing that you always check before you do anything is a filter. 9 chances out of 10, a dirty filter is actually what causes an AC to go down. So make sure that the filter's clean, so that way the bottom side of your coil isn't filthy. But the air, the hot, moist air, flows through your filter and then flows through your evap coil. So in your evap coil, that's where your refrigerant is inside of all the tubing. And the boiling point of your refrigerant is so low that it can boil off at like 40 degrees. So if you have any air that is warmer than 40 degrees, you're going to be doing a good thing for your AC. So once that hot air from inside your house flows across the evap coil is actually going to capture that heat in the refrigerant and then move out to your condenser. So what happens then is the air gets, or the refrigerant that has all the hot air in it, gets pulled into your compressor, and that compresses it and takes hot air or hot refrigerant and compresses it down and makes it even hotter and puts it into a smaller space, which would basically look like this top line here, and then it flows in to all your coils on your condenser. So what's happening then is your extremely hot refrigerant, because it's been compressed down and put into a smaller space, then flows through all of your condensing coils here, and then your fan up here blows the heat upwards, which causes the hot air from outside to flow across all of your refrigerant lines that have been condensed and got even hotter. Always remember that cold always moves to hot. So yes, it could be 90 or 100 degrees outside here, but with you making your refrigerant even hotter, you're creating a weather pattern for this hot air, which is colder than your refrigerant, to move into the condensing coils to remove the heat from it. Then your condenser will then take that refrigerant that is boiled off. When you boil water, it creates steam, so it'll take that, condense it down, then it removes the heat, which goes back into its liquid state, goes back inside, collects more heat, and comes back out. That's your basic run of the mill on an AC and how it works. So I would basically tell you that to always make sure that you check the filter first. That is key. That is the first thing you should do. Just as important as looking at your thermostat and making good contact with your customer. If you don't do that, you're going to be out here swapping parts and trying to figure out what's going on, because you could see all kinds of different weird pressures. If you have a filter that is filthy beyond belief, always try to look up on the bottom side of your coil to see if that looks dirty too, because if that's filthy, you're going to be fighting it all day long, and you're going to be dumping refrigerant in thinking that you don't have the right superheat or subcool, and then you're going to overcharge the system, which is going to be even worse. Another thing is you need to know whether your system has a TXV or a fixed orifice piston or some other thing that reduces the flow of your refrigerant and the speed. That is going to tell you whether you need to do a superheat or a subcool. Anytime you have a TXV, you always check your subcool. That is going to tell you where your refrigerant levels are and if you have a perfectly charged system. If you have a piston, you want to check your superheat. So maybe next video I can pull up some images and show you what a TXV looks like versus a piston. It's really easy to tell, but we won't get into that today. So after that, you always want to check both your superheat and subcool, even if you do have a piston or a TXV, just to make sure that both sides of the system are working correctly. But you need to know if you have a TXV or a piston. Once you learn all of that stuff, all the rest of it is fairly basic. I can get into more depth on whether it's going to be your contactor is bad or if the compressor's going out or something else, but that gets into it a lot deeper. I'd say the two biggest issues that happen on 90% of the ACs that I've done out there over the years is a clogged filter. That's always been the most. And then number two is your contactor. And my next video, I will show you how to troubleshoot a contactor correctly to make sure if that's what the issue is. Today, I just wanted to go over kind of the basics to get you to understand how refrigerant works and how it flows through the system, to kind of get your head wrapped around it. I know when I first started doing AC, once I was taught how the refrigerant actually worked and how the condenser worked versus the evap coil and everything, I was able to get a better understanding of the entire system, so I wasn't just swapping parts and wasting company money and time and my own time. So please let me know if you have any comments or anything. I know this was just a quick video. I will get into it a little bit deeper. Let me know if you want me to get into the contactor side, or if you want me to get into the compressor side or the refrigerant side on how to check to see if you have the right temperatures and the right pressures. Either way, I hope this helps. Let me know. Thanks.